What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. And if you're anything like me, you're looking forward to playing video games in virtual reality. Now, it does seem like everybody is split up into one of two camps. There's people who are really interested in VR, and then a handful of people who are against it for some reason. The people who are for it tend to be people who have tried it a long time ago and waited for it to get better and is aware that now it's better. Or maybe you've tried a demo of one of the existing devices, or maybe you even own one of those devices, or maybe you're just looking forward to a brighter future in which gaming can be so much more immersive. The people that tend to be against it are people who have used it and didn't like it or got nauseous or felt that it just wasn't good enough yet. They tend to be people who just don't like the idea of a gimmicky type of way of playing their games, and they feel that they've been burnt by gimmicks before and they don't want to get burnt again. Or there are hardcore gamers who just really like the setup that they currently have and they don't want to change from that. They want to keep playing their hardcore games in their hardcore way. Regardless of which camp you're in, though, let me say that you really should give virtual reality a try. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and there's a lot of different reasons to do it, and I hope that you'll give it a chance, because after having played Project Morpheus, which is now PSVR, having used an Oculus Rift, having used my gear here, I can tell you I'm a virtual reality nut, and I think after you've really gotten to experience it, you will be too. With that in mind, let's do a little virtual reality roundup here, talking about all the devices that are already available, the devices that will be available soon, so that you can figure out what your entry point will be. Now, the absolute basic level is Google Cardboard, and you can find this anywhere between $5 and $15, and this will give you a very basic experience with virtual reality using your existing smartphone. You download the Google Cardboard software onto your Android phone, you pop your phone into the device. These lenses magnify it to give it that virtual reality 3D effect. You put it up to your face, and this will give you a very basic idea of what virtual reality can be. The downside is here is it's really a demo experience. There's not a lot of awesome things to do with it. You even have to hold it up to your face unless you build straps on your own, and it's powered by your phone, so unless you have a pretty nice phone, the experience is going to be low resolution, low refresh rate. It's going to make you pretty sick to your stomach. Next up is your Gear VR, which basically works very similar to the Google Cardboard, but gives you a much better experience. Download the Gear software, pop in your compatible Samsung phone. You can use this little touchpad here. You can Bluetooth a handheld controller for playing games. You can watch videos on it. You can play mobile-style games. It's pretty basic stuff, but it's pretty affordable, and it's, again, another great way to get an idea of what virtual reality can be. The downside of this device is it's, again, powered by your mobile phone, and even if you have the current Samsung phone, that's not that powerful, so you're limited to some pretty minor experiences, mostly watching videos and things along that lines. When it comes to gaming, the gaming tends to be mobile-type games because they have to run on your phone. But I will say that if you're looking to do videos or you're looking for virtual tours of things or something along that lines, this is the one that excels at that at a very affordable price if you have the right phone. Now, when it comes to gaming devices, I think this is going to be the most accessible and quite possibly the most popular one with its launch, and that's the PlayStation VR. Now, this thing does carry a really hefty price tag at $400, which is more expensive than the console you plug it into. But that price is less expensive than either of the devices we're going to talk about for PC, quite considerably. It's half as much as the Vive, and since it plugs into a PlayStation 4, which is already in 12 or 14 million homes right now, this is going to be a device I think is going to sell like hotcakes right at launch. What's interesting about this device is that it does have the best refresh rate of all of the other devices, and that is really important when it comes to getting sick while using it, and I think that's going to make it much more accessible to a lot of people. Now, this is the first device on the list that is primarily gaming focused. It's got 17 games when it launches later in the year. You can use your DualShock 4 controller with your PlayStation 4 to control those games. There are also some games that will use PlayStation Move, which has been repurposed for this purpose. You use it with the camera, and I've actually used this at the PlayStation Experience, and I have to say Move is a much better way of using these things than using a controller or a silly little touchpad. The next device is PC only, and it's the Oculus Rift, and it boasts the price of $599, and if you pre-ordered, you could be getting one as early as the end of March. Now, this device is also very gaming-centric and has a massive list of launch titles, even if some of those launch titles are just ports over from the mobile version of Gear VR. The other big advantage this device has is that a lot of people have had the development kits for a long time, and there are a lot of existing games and upcoming games that will work with the Oculus Rift as well. You can be playing some of your existing games in virtual reality very soon, and that's fucking cool. Now, when it comes to controlling games in the Oculus Rift, I mean, just about anything can be supported. It's a PC device, after all. You could use mouse and keyboard. You could use the little remote that comes with it that is basically a functional, dedicated version of this little touchpad. It ships with an Xbox One controller, and there's probably a huge variety of other ways, like flight sticks and fight sticks and whatever else. Besides that hefty price tag, though, the device does have a few limitations, which can be very frustrating for people who are eager to use it. The first is that it's now a Facebook company, and when they purchased the device, they decided to go with a closed version rather than open source version, and that's been very frustrating for a lot of people, especially the people that kickstarted this device. But secondly, it requires a beast of a computer to run it. Minimum specs are either a GTX 970 or an AMD 290. You got to have a decent processor, you've got to have two USB 3.0 ports available, and you got to be running Windows 7 or higher. Now, if you have those computer specs, you'll be able to run the device, and it's going to look very, very good with a 90 hertz refresh rate, with a very, very solid resolution. It's a nice device, just not everybody's going to be able to get one today. And finally, the last device I'm going to cover today, clocking in at a whopping $800, is HTC and Valve's Vive Vr. This one is also PC exclusive, and when you look at the specs list, you're going to find that it's almost identical to the Oculus Rift when it comes to hardware, refresh rate, resolution, and so on and so forth, including the requirements for the PC that you need to run it. Now, while I have not used this device myself, it's my understanding there are two major reasons that this is the creme de la creme of all of the virtual reality devices coming out this year. I think the biggest argument is the fact that this is being developed by Valve, and Valve is a company I think a lot of us know and trust very, very well as PC gamers. This will ship with SteamVR. Your existing Steam games that are compatible will probably port on over. There are potential for games like Half-Life 3 or Left 4 Dead 3 or Portal 3 coming exclusively to this device and never showing up on the Oculus. The second reason is the peripherals that come with this device. The cameras are supposed to be way better for tracking and give you a much larger tracking area. I think it's supposed to be 15 by 15 as opposed to 15 by 11 for the Oculus Rift. The controllers are also amazing, according to the people that have used this and other devices. They say that using a DualShock controller or using an Xbox One controller or some little goofy remote cannot compare to these incredible remotes that they've made. Though, I don't know, man. Using those Move controllers was pretty badass, too. Now, when it comes to downside, though, the Vive VR not only requires the exact same monstrous PC the Oculus Rift does, but it also has that $800 price tag, and that's enough to keep a lot of people from ever even considering it. Basically, that's it. That's what 2016 looks like for virtual reality devices on the consumer level. If you just want to watch videos, you could get something as cheap as a Google Cardboard, or if you want to play awesome high-fidelity games, you could spend a bunch on a nice PC and $800 on a Vive and game your brain to mush. Now, for those of you who are rolling your eyes at the concept, let me say, reserve judgment until you've gotten a chance to really use these devices. Of the 5 devices we've talked about today, I've used Google Cardboard and the Gear and Project Morpheus and the Oculus. And I have to say, I'm in love with all of those devices. They are amazing to use for videos or tours or video games. They are awesome. Don't knock it till you try it. But for those of you who are discouraged by the price, I do not blame you, because these prices are astronomical. And I have to say, while the hardware that's going into these devices are pretty damned good, I really feel like they're passing on a lot of the development costs to the consumers that tends to be the case when it comes to early adoption of technology, but boy, is it going to lock a lot of people out of the market. But as time progresses, I think these devices will get cheaper and cheaper to manufacture, cheaper and cheaper for you to purchase. They'll come down in price for promotional purposes. Eventually, there'll be updated versions of the machine, so the older versions will go on price. This, I think, is going to be around for a really long time, and it's only going to be more and more affordable. So if you can't afford to adopt here, I hope you can wait. With that said, which virtual reality device are you interested in, if any? Do you plan to pick one up this year? Do you plan to wait till they get a little cheaper? And while you leave a comment, I'm going to go watch some really cool videos in bed and drift off to sleep in virtual reality. Because I got to tell you, this reality is so much nicer than my actual reality. I want to live in here. Guys, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon.